Hi, everybody. This is recording number 6. The course is called Being, Listening, and Speaking Dynamics, which is the acronym I use for it is BLSD, Being, Listening, Speaking Dynamics. We're in the listening part of the class. So I'm going to use the same example I used in the previous video, but I'm going to show you how we got to that one point. So let's say there's a woman in the class, and say we have 20, 30 people in the class. And I say, who wants to be the person I work with? And she raises her hand. And I say, okay, we're going to talk about where your listening is very good. Okay. Now, yummy, we're getting into it. So tell me where your listening is very good. Okay, so then she's going to say, well, let's see. I have listening with my daughter, which is kind of medium. Listening with my husband, which is atrocious. I feel like he never listens. And then I say, well, but we're talking about your listening skills right now, even though it is an interaction. Remember, we said it's an interaction between the two, it's a dance. Okay, I listen at church, I listen to the preacher, and I listen to my friends on social hour at church. Well, I think my listening is the best when I listen at work. Okay, and then I might say, well, you have a lot of people you listen to at work. You might listen to the janitor. You might listen to your coworkers. You might listen to your boss. You might listen to your boss's boss. You might listen in a large meeting where several people are speaking. Which one of these things do you feel like you do the best? And that person might say, well, I think I listen with my boss the best. Okay, that's good. Now, think about all the times you've listened to your boss. Which time, when you listen to your boss, do you feel like you listened the best? Well, gee, that kind of is hard to find because you've been listening to your boss for years. Which one's the best? But I say go inside yourself and look for the one that was the very best, where you felt like you were listening the very, very best. And you might say, okay, there was this time before I got the job when I was interviewing that it was the very best. Okay, tell us about that time. Well, I went in for the interview, and during the interview, I asked my boss, or I said to my boss, I'm not going to take this job unless you remodel my office. Okay, great. Okay, that happened. And what did he say? He said, okay. To my surprise, he said, okay. And they actually did remodel my office before I moved into it. Great, that's good news. Now we're going to get even more specific. In that moment, when you were in there getting your interview, you said, I'm not going to take this job unless you remodel my office, right? Okay, we're going to look at this very, very specifically. And in class, this takes a lot longer to do, believe me. This is the short version. Okay, during that moment, when you said, not when he had reacted yet, but when you said, I'm not going to take this job unless you remodel my office, I want to know a ton of things about that moment. What was the sunlight like that day? Was it cloudy? Was it sunny? What were you wearing? What color? What shape? What texture? Were there any smells in the room? What did the room look like? What was your boss wearing? Now, in class, we would actually describe all of those things specifically. Like, okay, I was wearing a blue dress. It was somewhat formal because I was in a job interview. My boss was wearing this ridiculous camel colored jacket that didn't work with him, didn't seem to fit his personality. On the wall, there were a lot of his trophies that he'd won over the years. He had golfing trophies on a shelf. He had his college bachelor's and master's and doctorate certificates on the wall. The walls were green. You know, we go through the whole thing, the whole entire thing. And then I say, okay, now be in that moment when there's all those things and you're listening. You're listening. Just be there listening. Now think of something that is a reminder of that moment, a physical object, a color, a physical body sensation. What was happening at that exact moment after you delivered your sentence? I'm not going to take this job unless you remodel my office. Okay, now stop. You're right there at that moment. What did you feel? What did you see? What objects were around? What objects make you think of that moment? And you might say, well, okay, I wore a necklace that my mother gave me, and I rarely wear it, but I wore it for good luck. It has a St. Christopher pendant on it, and I wore that, and that reminds me of the moment. Also, I was wearing this beautiful blue dress that I had gone out and gotten for interviews, and I really remember that dress. Okay, now we have your best listening moment there is. We have some things that remind you of it. A certain shade of blue and your necklace. Now, we're going to leave that right there, but I want you to remember that particular color of blue and that particular necklace because we're going to use it in the near future. Then what I would do in classes, I might go to one more person and work with them and get them to that point, or I might not. I might just work with this one person. Depends on how the class is going, how people feel, if they're confused, if they understand it or not. So that's called your great listening moment. That moment when she's got the color blue, it's beyond the moment. It's the things that she remembers from that moment, a certain shade of blue and the necklace. Okay, now we're going to go to the next video and we're going to work with that. Thank you. God bless you. Hope that's okay. Hope that doesn't offend somebody.